In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a basic application of level and plumb lines. So what we're going to do here is we're going to strike some lines, reference lines on the drawing, and then make a comparison to the still life. So what I've done here for this particular assignment, I have taken it up to about step 4. I've done an intuitive gesture, getting everything in about where it should be, how big it should be, and I could even do some intuitive changes up to this point as well. But let's say you've got it to a point where you think it looks pretty good, and now you want to apply some reference lines to see if you're really as close as you want to be. So the object I would like you to start with is the one that sits on top of your can or any other object that's acting as a base for one of your compact objects. In this case, it's an avocado. So find the topmost point. You can put a little mark there if you like, and then strike a level line through that point all the way across the page. I'm drawing a bit darker than you should. You can keep your reference lines rather light so they don't become too strong in the drawing. But I'm attempting to keep it level. Doesn't look so level in the camera because we got a little bit of distortion, but it's pretty level. So now we can see a clear relationship between that line and other objects in the still life. And in this case, the bottle is the most important one to look at, I think, at this point. You can see that the reference line passes over. It just misses the top of the bottle. So what the drawing is telling us is that the bottle is actually slightly lower in our field of view than the avocado is. Well, let's compare that to the still life, and I think you're going to see right away that's absolutely not the case, is it? There's a big change that needs to happen here. So from the camera's perspective, you would be seeing something like this, you know, as you, the artist, are looking at the still life and sighting the line, and you'll note that the reference line actually intersects the bottle at about the point where the neck meets the shoulder. So what that means is we need to draw in our bottle about 1 full neck length taller, so about so high, and we're just going to basically use the same width that we have here because we haven't really checked anything there yet. But all we're doing right now is moving the bottle up, and you see that that's a big change. All right, let's take a look at some plumb lines. Let's go back to the bottle. We're taking our second attempt now, and what we're going to do is we're going to strike a reference line through the bottle's rightmost point or rightmost side, and you'll see that there are a lot of things in this drawing that happen to coincide with that reference line. The bottle and the corner of the book. And then we're going to strike another plumb line through the bottle's leftmost point or side in this case. Again, I'm making these darker than you will want to do in your drawing. But I want you to be able to see these very clearly in the video. So now we can see a relationship between these two lines and any other object in the still life, and in this case I think the book is the one that's the most important to look at. This is very easy to see that they line up. Corner of the book, side of the bottle line up in our drawing. This one intersects the length of the book at about 1/3 to 1/4 of the way in from the right. So in other words, you can take any line in the drawing and divide it in half if you want. You could divide it in quarters, and you can see that we're about at 1/4. You could even divide it into thirds if you choose to. If whatever is convenient, whatever gives you the best information. So any line you can do that with. So what we found in our drawing is that the leftmost line of the bottle pretty much intersects about 1/4 of the way in, of the length of the book. Let's check our still life and see how these things, see if those things are in agreement. Well, we can see right away that the corner of the book is a little bit farther to the right than the edge of the bottle. So we're going to need to make a change here. This is going to have to come in a bit. The other side of the bottle, if we cite our plumb line there, we can see that, oh, it looks like it's dividing the total length of that book about a third of the way in, maybe even a little bit more. So what I'm saying is that this line needs to shift over this way some, maybe as much as that far, it looks like to me. So that's got to come in this way, and this one's got to come in about so. So now with that new understanding, we're going to go ahead and just to kind of help us see it, we're going to strike some reference lines up from those points so that we know we're going to fit our bottle in that little chunk of area there. So let's go ahead and draw it in. So we're basically drawing this same thing. It looks like it's going to be a little bit wider, but we're drawing that same thing, and we're centering it on these two new lines that we've drawn. We're centering it on that. Same height, because we like the height. We did the work to find it. Let's use it. Trying to make these a little darker so you can see the corrections above the previous estimates. It's okay, you know, if it gets a little hairy. Thicker lines are more forgiving. You can actually make them look straighter than a thin, fine line. So be happy about that. And let's just darken, let's emphasize this end of the book here just to be able to see it in relation to the bottle. And so there you have it. A basic application of a level line and two plumb lines, and how it helped us move the bottle from being too low and too far to the right and even too small to a more correct position.